All right, welcome back to the very first official video here for the Big Shawn Show. Now, like what I mentioned to you before is I'm going to be telling stories, all right? So what I want to talk about today is the first day I went into Iraq, okay? And it's kind of a funny story in a way. Just simply for the fact is that it's pretty crazy actually. And the more and more as years went by, I realized how crazy it was, all right? So at the time, it was 2003, all right? I had been working in Kuwait doing security there since 2002, before the war kicked off, all right? And then when the war kicked off, somebody that I work with had been in communication with this British company that had been working in Kuwait, and they were responsible. They got a contract from the government to train the Iraqi Ministry of Oil Security Force, all right? So he managed to send his resume, and I guess they needed some recruits. So he talked to a bunch of us that were working there. And there's actually, I think it was 8 or 9 of us, all right? So if one of you guys that went over there hears this and I have the wrong numbers, please forgive me, it's been a long time. But anyway, so we managed to put our resumes in, and they accepted all of us, all right? So we all quit our job at the same day, believe that? So we quit our job at the same day. And what we're supposed to do is, we're supposed to meet this particular person on the border, all right? So forgive me while I'm walking here. I kind of talk better while I'm walking, and I'm having a drink here. So we were supposed to meet this contact from this company at the border, all right? So we decided, we're all gonna get a cab. We're all gonna get this cab, or maybe a couple cabs. Obviously, there's 8 people, and we're gonna load up, and we are going to hop in these cabs, and we're going to take it to the border of Kuwait and Iraq. Now, mind you, this was in October of 2003. So the war, had been going on a little bit, so it was still kind of wild, it was still kind of crazy. So we all showed up at the border of Iraq, all right? And just to drive out into the desert to where this border was at was, it was a pretty long ride, all right? And needless to say, it was pretty crazy there. All right, there was stuff everywhere. Right, there wasn't a lot of organization involved in it. There wasn't, like a typical border crossing that you would in a normal place, like you're going to the U.S. or someplace else. So there was this stuff everywhere. All right, I didn't feel like nervous or threatened in any kind of way. So basically, we all showed up, and the kicker is, we didn't even have a signed contract. So we quit a job where we were actually making money with the hopes of going to work in Kuwait, hoping that they were going to honor their deal and sign us a contract. So we all quit our jobs, didn't have a signed contract, didn't know when we were going to get paid. We were all just, jumping on the bandwagon, so to speak. We all wanted to get involved. Now me, I had missed the first Gulf War when I was in Iraq. When I was in the Marines. So this is my way of kind of maybe getting in the big picture of a big time war, all right? So being involved in it somehow. So it really appealed to me. So we all hop in, all right? Hop in these cabs, get to the border, like I said before, and then we get there, all right? There was a representative from the company that was on the Kuwaiti side, all right? And they were waiting for our contact that was going to pick us up in the vehicles on the Iraq side. So he shuttled us to where this person was at, right there at the crossing, so to speak. And I remember the guy in Iraq gave the guy in Kuwait like a big case of beer. Right now, Kuwait is a Muslim country, and drinking, beer is against the law. So it was kind of funny, to see this little transaction. So basically, we all hopped in to this car. And then we get to the border there, right at the border. We all walk across the border there, get into I think it was 3 vehicles. And here we are, none of us, although we worked security together in Kuwait, well, guess what? None of us trained together for this particular situation. So here I am with, all these different guys that, if something were to happen, you know, I don't know how they're going to react, and we never really trained for this particular thing like convoy operations, all right? Because, if you're in a couple vehicles and you're traveling down the road and you start getting shot at, you're going to have to act in a certain way. So not only did we not train together, and we're hopping in some vehicles with some people we don't even know, all right? So it was one British guy, I'll call him Bob. So Bob, real cool dude, big tall guy, talk like a typical British guy. I'm not going to try to mimic his accent because I suck at British accents, all right? So Bob basically gave us a safety brief, all right? He said, all right, listen up. We're going to be driving from Kuwait up to Baghdad, and I think he said it takes 6 hours, all right? So 6 hours, all right? So, and along the way, if we get into some kind of contact, meaning if somebody starts shooting at us or whatever, we have to shoot somebody, don't worry about rolling the windows down, just shoot through the doors, just shoot, and we're not going to stop. And we'll let somebody know, we'll let an army patrol know, or whatever, the next checkpoint, we'll let them know what happened, all right? And so we're all looking at each other like, okay, you guys got any maps? No maps, no cell phones, because at that time, there wasn't any cell phones over there. We didn't have a satellite phone. We didn't even have guns. So we kind of, hey, do you guys got any guns? Oh yeah, sure, mate. Sure, mate. There goes that British accent I told you about that I'm terrible. Oh yeah, mate, here. He starts passing out this mismatched, bunch of guns from like different manufacturers, different styles, different calibers, some old, like some real old, and basically I never shot any of them, and neither did any of us, and none of us went to the range to qualify to make sure that they worked. So here we are, they're passing out all these guns, and I'm looking at them like, I don't even know if this thing works or not. So then we hop in these cars with some, it was just one British guy, and then the other were like, I think there were 3 Iraqi drivers, okay? That was it. There was nobody else. And so we're hopping in these cars. We don't know where we're going. We just know we're going to Baghdad. We have no maps, no cell phones, no radios, no body armor. Now I will tell you this though. My dad and I, oh, I forgot to mention, him and I worked together in Kuwait. Well, we knew we were going to work there, so I had went home a couple months prior, or a month prior, and I bought some body armor and brought it back. So we had our own body armor, but nobody else did. So here we are, no weapons, no body armor, no cell phones, no sat phones, no radios, no maps, no idea who these guys were. They could have took us out in the desert. They could have, handed us over some terrorists, and we would have been in some orange jumpsuits. You probably saw some of the videos getting, possibly getting our head cut off for a propaganda video. That would be very uncool, and we'll talk about that later on. So we hop in these cars, all with the hopes of, hey, we're going to be, signing a contract. We're going to be making some more money. We're going to be having more of an adventure, because, hey, let's face it, a lot of us guys like that, the adventure part of it's important too, all right, and the mission, all right? The mission's very important. So hop in this car, and I think he said 6 hours or 10, maybe longer, I can't remember. So we started driving, all right? So all's good, road's good, no problems, and then all of a sudden the road stops. It was like they were constructing the road. They were building the road, and all of a sudden they stopped building it, all right? So here you are, you got like a divided 4-lane highway, major thoroughfare, and all of a sudden no more. It's just desert. So now we get off this main road, and now we're driving in the desert. All right? Driving through some towns. Well, it's not like a desert like you would find in Saudi Arabia, or that you'd see in the movies, like in the sub-Sahara desert. It's not like that. It's like desert arid climate, maybe like something you see in Arizona or New Mexico or something like that, right? So here we are, we're driving through the through no road, just kind of driving around. All of a sudden we come across this 18-wheeler that was turned over on its side on fire. Nobody around. And you're thinking, oh boy, first of all, why is there an 18-wheeler turned over on its side on fire? Well, obviously, they were probably attacked. They were probably attacked, And I don't know what happened to the driver. I didn't see any dead bodies or anything like that. So here's this 18-wheeler turned over its side and on fire, and we're like, oh boy, we're gonna get ambushed. Okay, we're gonna get hit. And there's nobody around that's gonna be able to help us. Nobody that can come and provide like a QRF, quick reaction force. Nothing, because we didn't have communications with anybody. And as far as I know, I don't know if the guy that picked us up, Bob, hopefully he had communications with the headquarters in Baghdad where he came from, and and he was making contact with them. I had to put my drink down. I'm getting stung by mosquitoes, by the way, so they like my blood. But so here we are. Well, fortunately for us, nothing happened, obviously, because I'm still here, and we kind of drove past it, and we pulled over, I don't know, several miles down the road and out in the middle of nowhere, and it took a little potty break, so to speak. All right, hop back in, get to Baghdad. All right, so we get to Baghdad, and it was kind of a team house, and it was located, some of you guys that were in Baghdad, I can't remember the neighborhood. It's where a lot of the embassies were at, like the consulates, or where the embassy people lived. It was right outside the neighborhood where that big huge mosque that Saddam had built and stopped building, and it was right next to the Thai embassy, or where the ambassador lived, or whoever, the consulate. Not the official embassy site, but it was right next to there. So we show up, and obviously we don't know anybody. All right, and these guys, most of them, well, they're pretty much all Brits when we get there. All right, so when you're dealing with somebody from a different country and culture, the Brits are cool, but we didn't really know each other. All right, we didn't know how they operated. They didn't really know how we operated. We were just, it was kind of coin toss. So we get there, and then he's like, all right, here, let me collect all the guns. So we're like, okay, cool. Well, I mean, the compound had a high wall around it, so we weren't really worried about anybody kind of coming in at that point. So here we are. We give our guns back. Okay, no problem, right? I'm figuring, we're not doing anything. We're not going to do anything else later, right? And so then he goes, hey, I need a couple of you guys, or I need one of you guys to go out in town with one of our drivers to go fuel the vehicles up. Now at that time, they had these black black BMWs. So at that time, apparently, there's a lot of insurgents running around, and some of them had black BMWs, and they were, setting up car bombs or ambushes and stuff like that. So at that time, the army was stopping these vehicles and confiscating them, at checkpoints. So they wanted an American face to be in one of the vehicles, so we wouldn't get our vehicles confiscated. So I'm like, okay. I'm looking around, and none of the guys that I'm with volunteered. Okay, none of them. And I'm thinking, hey, I'm just starting this company, so I gotta act like I got some, that I'm not scared, and I want to work hard. I'm gonna prove myself. So I'm like, no one else is. I raise my hand, and here I am in Baghdad, no communication, no cell phones, no map, no gun, and they say, we need you to go out in town with this Iraqi that I don't know, and go someplace where I don't know where it's at, and sit and get fuel at a regular gas station in Iraq, in Baghdad. So I tell the Brit, I go, hey, the guy's in charge of the compound. I was like, hey, I don't have a gun. Oh yeah, here, mate. Bad British accent again. Hands me a little revolver, like a 38 or something. And I'm like, okay. So I grab this revolver, hop in this BMW with this driver, and then we go out into town, and then we pull up at this gas station. Of course, there's a long line, so we're sitting in there for, I don't know, in this line for about an hour. And then I'm like, now I'm starting to get paranoid because, I'm like worried about getting attacked or whatever. And so we pull up, finally get to the pump there, and I'm sitting in the car. I'm like, well, I don't know what to do. What should I do? Should I, here I am. So I get out, and I'm kind of just standing there, and I'm thinking, man, something happens, I'm screwed. I got a little 38. I don't have a cell phone. I have no way to communicate with anybody if something happened. And then at that point, I said, if I ever have to do this again, I'm going to make sure that I'm better armed. And if I remember, I'm going to tell you a story about that later on down the road, and I was better armed. But so that was that experience going into Iraq the first day. Okay, it could have ended up really bad for me and everybody else that was with us. Oh, I forgot to mention that not only did we not train together, but guess what some of these guys did the night before? They decided that they wanted to go and stay up late, and I think some of them got some alcohol someplace, and some of them were drunk. So here I am driving, through Iraq with guns that I don't even know how to use. Well, I know how to use them. Guns I never fired before, with people I've never, Iraqis I don't even know, a British guy I don't know, and how do I not gonna trust them? Going someplace where I don't know where it's at, no maps, no communication, and here I am with a bunch of guys that I've never trained with in case something happens, and they're all hungover and drunk, and some of them were sleeping. So I didn't have a lot of confidence. Okay, didn't have a lot of confidence. I was pretty pissed off actually. So but anyway, we got there, no problem. Nobody was hurt. Went out and fueled the vehicle, got back, and the next day we did another trip, and I'll talk about that later on. But hope you enjoyed this, and until the next video, I want you guys to stay safe. And please don't forget to like and subscribe and pass the word on, okay? Pass the word on to other people. Anyway, take care.